There is a type of person you've met, but never truly understood. They don't talk much. They don't compete for attention. They don't reveal their plans. And because of that, you underestimate them. You assume they're shy. You assume they're insecure. You assume they're harmless. But what if I told you? The quietest person in the room is often the one who understands the room the most. Tonight, we're not talking about loneliness. We're talking about power. The kind of power that doesn't shout. The kind of power that doesn't beg. The kind of power Machiavelli himself would recognize. This is the psychology of the Machiavellian loner. And once you understand it, you will never look at silence the same way again. No one is born Machiavellian. They become it. Usually after one realization, people are not who they pretend to be. It often begins in childhood. A friend betrays them, a group excludes them, an adult lies to them while smiling. They notice patterns others ignore. They notice how people switch personalities depending on who's watching. They notice how kindness is sometimes exploited. And slowly, they stop reacting emotionally, not because they don't feel, but because they start observing. They begin to treat life like data. Every conversation becomes information. Every reaction becomes a clue. They learn that people reveal their weaknesses unintentionally through anger, through jealousy, through insecurity, through overconfidence. Most people live emotionally. The Machiavellian loner begins living strategically. That shift changes everything. Most people talk to connect. The Machiavellian loner talks to calculate. There's a difference. When you speak constantly, you expose yourself, your fears, your ambitions, your insecurities, your desires. But when you remain silent, people project onto you. They try to fill the gaps. They reveal themselves trying to decode you. Silence creates psychological pressure. Humans are uncomfortable with uncertainty, so they try to reduce it. They speak more. They overshare. They confess, and the loner listens. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. He knew that information asymmetry is power. If I know more about you than you know about me, I control the interaction. The Machiavellian loner doesn't need to dominate the room. They let the room expose itself. And that's far more powerful. Here's what separates them from ordinary quiet people. Control. They don't suppress emotion, they regulate it. When insulted, they don't explode. They observe. Why did that person react that way? What insecurity triggered that behavior? When praised, they don't become arrogant. They analyze. What does this person want? Emotion, to them, is information. They understand a brutal truth. The first person who loses emotional control loses psychological advantage. Most arguments are won not by logic, but by who stays calm longer. And the Machiavellian loner has practiced calmness in isolation. Loneliness forced them to confront themselves, to think deeply, to process silently, to detach when necessary. That internal discipline becomes external dominance. Here's the dangerous part. They don't look dangerous. They look ordinary, polite, sometimes even awkward. But behind that exterior is a mind mapping social hierarchies. Who holds influence? Who follows whom? Who fears rejection? Who craves validation? They see invisible power structures most people never notice, and they adapt accordingly. Machiavelli wrote that rulers must appear virtuous even if they are not. The Machiavellian loner understands perception. They don't need to be ruthless. They need to appear harmless. Underestimation is the perfect camouflage. When people underestimate you, they relax, and relaxed people reveal everything. The Machiavellian loner doesn't hate people. They distrust unpredictability. That's why their circle is small, not because they can't make friends, but because access is earned. They test people quietly. Consistency, loyalty, integrity under stress. Most fail without knowing they were tested, because people reveal who they are over time. And time is something the loner has plenty of. They don't rush attachments. They don't chase validation. They don't fear being alone. And that is terrifying, because when someone doesn't fear losing you, you cannot manipulate them. Society glorifies extroversion, loudness, charisma, visibility. But visibility creates vulnerability. The Machiavellian loner thrives in invisibility. They build skills privately. They plan quietly. They move strategically. While others seek applause, they seek leverage. And when their results finally show, it feels sudden to everyone else. But for them, it was inevitable. They understand something powerful. If no one sees your growth, no one prepares for your impact. Dark psychology isn't evil. It's awareness of influence. The Machiavellian loner studies cognitive biases, social conditioning, emotional triggers, group dynamics. They notice how people conform to authority, how flattery lowers defenses, how fear accelerates decision-making. They don't manipulate constantly, but they know how. And that knowledge changes how they move. Because once you understand persuasion, you stop being easily persuaded. The loner becomes immune to social pressure. Trends don't control them. Peer approval doesn't dictate them. They choose consciously. And that independence creates gravity. Here's what most people misunderstand. The Machiavellian loner is patient. But patience is not weakness. They observe patterns, repeated disrespect, repeated manipulation, repeated betrayal. They don't react immediately. They gather evidence, and when action is required, it is precise, unexpected, decisive. No emotional outburst, no dramatic confrontation, just calculated movement. And because they stayed silent for so long, no one saw it coming. But there's a cost. When you see through people, trust becomes difficult. When you analyze constantly, relaxation becomes rare. When you detach emotionally, connection feels risky. The Machiavellian loner battles isolation, not physical isolation, psychological isolation. Few people understand them. Fewer can match their depth, and sometimes they question whether power is worth the distance. This is the paradox. To protect yourself completely, you must limit vulnerability. But to experience true connection, you must risk it. And that tension never fully disappears. Machiavellian traits are neutral. They amplify character. An insecure person with strategic intelligence becomes manipulative. A disciplined person with strategic intelligence becomes formidable. The difference is intention. Do you seek control out of fear, or do you seek mastery out of strength? The Machiavellian loner must choose, because power without morality creates destruction. But morality without power invites exploitation. Balance is rare, but balance is necessary. Modern society rewards noise. Social media amplifies oversharing. Validation is quantified in likes. Attention is currency. And in a world obsessed with exposure, silence becomes rare. Rarity creates value. The Machiavellian loner understands this instinctively. They don't reveal everything. They don't announce every move. They understand anticipation. Mystery creates intrigue. Intrigue creates influence, and influence creates power. Eventually, the Machiavellian loner reaches a stage beyond manipulation. They no longer need to play psychological games. They've mastered themselves. Self-control becomes their greatest asset. They use strategy for growth, not revenge, for building, not destroying. They understand human nature deeply, but they are not consumed by it. They choose peace over chaos, control over impulse, depth over noise, and at that stage, they are unstoppable. Because the hardest person to defeat is someone who doesn't need to defeat you. So next time you see someone alone, sitting quietly, observing, listening more than speaking, don't assume weakness. You might be witnessing discipline. You might be witnessing calculation. You might be witnessing someone who understands power at a level most never will. Because silence is not emptiness. It is analysis. It is preparation. It is control. And in a world addicted to noise, the one who masters silence masters the game.